A prehistoric murder. A Stone Age killing. Revealed after 5,000 years. Now, the investigation begins. Scientists are reopening a case that is millennia old, uncovering some startling new evidence of prehistoric violence. New wounds, forensic analysis, and blood on the weapons that tell the tale of a killer. A tale of mortal combat. What can the crime scene, the murder weapon, and forensic evidence within the body tell us about this deed? After all this time, 50 centuries later, the case of the Iceman is just beginning. The jagged edge of the Ötztal Alps, the border of Italy and Austria. On this site, 12 years ago, a body was found. A 5,000-year-old mummy. Called Ötzi the Iceman, he would offer scientists a link to the Stone Age and a mystery. The job of unraveling that mystery would fall to medical examiner Edward Ötztal. Over the past decade, it has become an obsession.
After the discovery of the mummy in 1991, the scientists believed that the Iceman died by natural way. For example, someone believed that he died by a cold or died by hypothermia.
Many thought Ötzi collapsed of exhaustion. Others said drowning. But everyone believed the Iceman faced his end alone. No one guessed it was something still more disturbing.
10 years later, we found arrowhead in his back, and some pieces of this scenario give a clue that he died by violence.
Not just violence. A Neolithic killing. Ötzi had been shot in the back. Now, Ötztal is setting out in search of answers. His goal? To unravel this mysterious death once and for all.
Luis, where is exactly the place in which was found the Iceman?
Down here.
Ötztal is going back to the scene of the crime with Alois Pierpammer, one of the men who first uncovered the mummy on this mountain pass back in 1991.
In this spot, it has about 3 meters of snow here, where is the founding place.
Pierpammer saw the body that day sprawled inside the ice. But as he shows Ötztal, something was holding it fast.
We looked under the water, and he had in the hand a stone knife.
A knife in his hand. Could Pierpammer be right? News footage shot the week of the discovery shows the final excavation. The body is anchored in the ice. The right hand pinned in the frozen water. And once the hand comes out, there is something else in the hole. The knife. At first, no one realized what it was. In fact, they tossed it aside. But now, in the context of a murder investigation, it takes on new importance. A man with a knife is not just a target. Did Ötzi fight back? Could it be the story of the Iceman is different than anyone suspected? On a trail that's centuries old, Edward Ötztal will have to work hard to uncover the facts. To understand what this new knife information might mean, he returns to the place he spent the last 5 years, the Bolzano Museum in northern Italy. There, a piece of the past emerges. A body frozen in time. This mummy has revolutionized our understanding of prehistory, single-handedly changing the dates of the Copper Age. revealing that Stone Age man was more advanced than we ever thought. Of course, he's fascinated researchers as a scientific specimen, but never as a murder victim, trying to tell the story of his death from beyond the grave. Now, inside a temperature-controlled chamber, held at a steady 10 below freezing, the forensic investigation is finally underway. Egerter goes directly for the right hand, the knife hand. The fingers are still curled, as if clenching something that eluded them years ago. A replica of the knife still fits.
Marco, passami un attimo la lente ancora. Sì, ecco.
But almost immediately, Egerter stumbles on something else.
Questo non l'avevo mai vista.
A wound. A wound no one ever noticed before.
Ma questo è interessantissimo.
Egerter can't believe it. He goes in for a closer look. After a dozen years and hundreds of examinations, it's the first time it's been spotted. This isn't just a little slice. This is a deep cut, a slash to the flesh. Perhaps the fingers are simply curled in pain. X-rays examine the depth of the wound. A long, straight incision that went straight through the soft tissue between thumb and fingers, right down through the muscle to the bone. Egerter was looking for answers. Now, he has a brand new mystery.
This is incredible. It means that Ötztal's death happened in a complete different way than we ever believed.
A new scenario emerges. Not just a single shot, but a battle. A violent confrontation. The first ever proof of prehistoric combat, written directly into the flesh.
In my personal view, it means that we have to begin to review all of the scientific results about the Iceman in a completely new light.
Before anything else, Egerter will have to take a sample from the hand, a tissue fragment to send to the lab for tests. Edwin Egerter has been investigating suspicious deaths for the past 30 years. As chief medical examiner of the city of Bolzano, he sees hundreds of dead bodies a year. Some prove to be accidents, some suicides, and some are murders, homicides. Usually he's examining people who died yesterday. But surprisingly, with Ötztal, it's not so different.
The investigation of the Iceman is absolutely the same what we do every day. And the difference between the Iceman and another dead body is only that he is 5,000 years old. But the approach is the same.
For any forensic pathologist, one of the first questions is, what inflicted the wound? In this case, it's a weapon not so different from Ötztal's own. A Stone Age knife, just 5 inches long. A flint blade with a serrated edge. A hunting weapon for use on animals, not humans, but sharp enough to slice flesh. Experimental archaeologist Harm Paulsen is an expert in Stone Age weaponry.
His knife is a little bit smaller at the handle, but it's the same length around. But okay, it's not really a knife to kill people. And he will not do it in that way. When you want to push the dagger in other people's body, then it's the best not to do it like that. The handle is very, very short. They do it like that, in that way, and they push it in.
Egerter believes the knife wound is the key to understanding Ötztal's death. But it's one thing to have a theory, another to prove it. In his work, Egerter is used to applying the standards of definitive proof. Can he confirm this wound happened in the course of Ötztal's death? And what would that tell us? One thing is sure. This is a kind of wound Egerter has seen many times before.
It is a typical defense wound, and this type of wounds has been normally realized during a fight or when someone feel himself attacked by a weapon.
A hand reaching out to stop a blade, a cut to the palm. It's a classic defensive wound in a knife attack.
When people fight and when one has a knife and the other want to take this away, then you can have this here. And that is a typical cut here between thumb and finger, and it cuts straight through to the bone.
Could such an attack have been part of Ötztal's last moments? In Bolzano, Dr. Tom Loy is called in to see what the weapons can reveal. Loy is a molecular archaeologist, an expert in ancient DNA.
Dr. Loy,
If there was a battle, there should be clues on the weapons. Under the nervous eyes of the museum director, the artifacts are brought out from their glass case for the first time in half a decade.
but we look at the arrow shafts first. I'm going to take samples from behind this small shoulder.
Loy focuses in on the arrow shafts. He tested them 12 years ago, but not for human blood. He isn't positive what he'll find.
Wow, this is just covered in blood. It's sticking down all the fibers.
It's so shiny and it's
Very reflective. It's very thick.
gorgeous.
Blood cells. Dozens of them, 50 centuries old.
Wow.
Again and again he finds blood on the artifacts.
Some red cells right here in the center. I'll try and focus them better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red blood cells. So we've got blood on here.
It's a remarkable discovery. The first corroboration of Egerter's suspicions of Stone Age combat. But whose blood is this? And what exactly does it mean?
I'm going to change another tip.
Loy will have findings within weeks.
The first thing we would do if we find human blood is to compare every one of them and see if they're from the same person or different ones. And the only way we can tell that is by DNA analysis.
Same image.
If it's a murder, it will help in the solving.
Blood on the artifacts, a brutal wound on the Iceman's hand. For Egerter, the case has just gotten a lot more complicated, a lot more intriguing.
Everything is well. Now we have to investigate the crime scene. We have to resolve a lot of problems.
When night fell, when death came for the Iceman, it found him like this. A victim. And his final resting place, a crime scene. A riddle to be solved. What story can be read here? A body in a rocky hollow at the top of a mountain pass. 5 yards to the right, on a stone ledge, a backpack and an axe. Below, standing straight up, an unfinished bow. On the ground nearby, a quiver with 2 arrows and a dozen shafts. There was even a pack with herbal remedies and charcoal to light a fire. Especially valuable was the copper axe. But what no one could explain was why, if Ötztal was attacked, none of these possessions were taken. There are 2 theories, and both offer clues to what happened to the Iceman at the end. Perhaps he simply escaped his enemies, using his knowledge of the Alps to lose himself among the clouds and crevices.
It was not a normal situation. He didn't lie down because he was tired. He was in trouble and he escaped. And enemies. They could not find him on the last moment, because otherwise they would have brought away some of his gear. The gear was very, very valuable for the period.
To track Ötzi's final path, Egerter has joined up with famed climber Reinhold Messner, the first man to solo Everest. Messner grew up near here. Like Ötzi himself, he knows these mountains. The peaks that cut the sky, the glaciers torn by icy chasms. The most treacherous of all lies directly on the route Ötzi took. Only a skilled climber could ever hope to make it through.
Their geography, he had not on a map, they had no map. The geography he had here, he knew exactly I need so many hours for this pass, so many hours for the other pass, and he chose on the end the most difficult one, also with his injury, for hiding, for disappearing.
Why take such a dangerous route unless you were trying to escape?
We have a quite clear proof that Ötzi had problems, that he was followed by enemies, that he was probably injured and he had to go on this way. And the Ötzi way is an extraordinary difficult way.
Up the perilous path, past the giant crevice, just trying to disappear. For a closer look, Egerter and Messner touch down on Ötzi's final resting place, on the notch known as the Tissenjoch. They want to see firsthand what drove Ötzi here.
It's a very interesting place because 3 ways are possible to reach this place. You can come from the south side on difficult slopes. You can come from the east, and you could come also from the north side or go to the north side. Ötzi could have done it. He had the possibility to come from 3 sides, but he had also the possibility to escape from this place.
Up here on this alpine pass, did Ötzi evade his enemies? Did he find a kind of sanctuary? There is one other theory. Archaeologist Horst Seidler wonders if Ötzi drove off his assailant.
Despite of a heavy pain caused by the injury, he must have killed the other one who tried to kill him, to shoot him down. When he lays down, and after he has arranged all his equipment properly, then he must have felt himself in a very secure situation. Because if you are in such an extraordinary situation, you have not time enough to arrange your property.
It's an interesting possibility that Ötzi fought back against his attackers, inflicting as much damage as he suffered. Edward Egerter is starting to get a new image of Ötzi's last hours. Not a single act, but a combat that played out in many parts. A battle or two, an escape, and eventual death. Egerter hurries back to the museum to see if the evidence of the body can bear this out. Joined by radiologist Dr. Paul Gossner, he begins an inch-by-inch investigation. With fresh eyes, they suddenly realize that the cut to the right hand is just the beginning. There are other wounds never before spotted in Ötzi's gnarled flesh. A second gash, deep in Ötzi's left hand. A slash on the right forearm. And on the left side of the torso, 3 deep bruises. Egerter takes a tiny sample from the core of one of the wounds. It bears darkened traces. Could this be dried blood? With so much bruising, the battle scenario seems to take on extra weight. But these samples too must be tested to verify that all the wounds actually happened while the Iceman was alive. To find out, Egerter brings in Dr. Andreas Nerlich, an expert in ancient DNA. Inside the labs of the Bolzano hospital, Neolithic examines the tissue and begins what is known as the blue pigment test. Whenever a wound occurs, deep inside the damaged flesh, the healing process starts. Tiny cells, known as macrophages, start to eat up the blood, and the hemoglobin is converted to hemosiderin, a blue pigment. And that's exactly what they find.
This bleeding has occurred during lifetime. What we also can say is that at least 2 to 3 days have occurred between the cut and the death of the individual.
Egerter and Neolithic now have definitive evidence that the knife wound happened before Ötztal died. The cut never healed.
I believe now that that's finally the ultimate proof that the wound in the right hand happened during his life.
And not just the right hand wound, also the right arm and the bruises on the back. They all occurred while Ötztal was alive. Now there is no question. Ötztal was in a fight, battered and cut, wounded at one time, dying 48 hours later, just as the escape theories proposed. Ötztal's last battle has gone from conjecture to fact. Now Egerter just has to find out how Ötztal was killed and who's responsible. The new evidence of Ötztal's final battle may seem surprising, but it shouldn't be. After all, he came from a violent time. A time of clashes and conflicts and outright wars. Perhaps an era more like our own than we imagined. Ötztal's Neolithic period marked an escalation in the history of violence for very specific reasons. As hunter-gatherers settled into more stable farming communities, Neolithic man entered a new world. Before, he had simply killed what he needed to eat that night. Now, he began to store away food for entire seasons. And as some people stored more than others, jealousy erupted, and fights, even wars, broke out. These weren't the old skirmishes. The techniques of fighting had begun to change. Less grappling and wrestling, and more about weapons. Knives and axes and spears. The first arms race was beginning. Ötztal had wounds from all sorts of weapons on his body, as Egerter is starting to learn. Which one delivered the death blow? The medical examiner has known for a while. The arrow in the back. It killed Ötztal, but not immediately. Stopping short of the heart and lungs, it severed a key artery and led to a slow demise by bleeding, 48 hours after the fatal shot. This, then, is the murder weapon. "24 inches long, a flint arrowhead, a wooden shaft, triple plumed with feathers for rotation and stability, tapered for maximum power at the tip." But if Egerter knows the cause of death, what he hasn't yet figured out is the manner, precisely how it happened. In a valley not far from where Ötztal was found, Egerter has joined archaeologists Harm Paulsen, Anna Pedrotti, and Vittorio Brizzi at an archery site for some experimental archaeology. They are trying to reconstruct Ötztal's shooting with exact replicas of the bow and arrow that took his life.
That's great. Oh yeah, that's great. That would be tough.
Paulsen marks off the shaft to calibrate the depth of penetration. Ötztal's arrow sank 3 centimeters, just over an inch, inside his back. This experiment will help them figure out exactly how far the killer was standing when he took his lethal shot.
Yeah, that's the shoulder. That's great. So then we put it in here. Here.
Standing in for Ötztal, a side of pork.
Yeah, that's right. more so that maybe this part here, this part, that's okay. Yep, that's good. And then we should put the skin over it.
For precision, it's covered in a goatskin cloak, not so different from the one the Iceman wore.
Here, and maybe it's hanging. Okay. Oh!
Vado a recuperarla?
Yeah, just over the
The first shot.
I take another arrow.
It's normal.
Okay, again.
It couldn't have been a close shot. That would have gone right through Ötzi.
Oh wow, that's great. Yeah, you see here, the arrow has penetrated a very thick layer here, and it has touched the ribs here, and maybe the point is not hurt. No? Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit. That was 10 meters, and now we will try 20 meters and 30 meters. And then we will see. Okay.
The trick is to find the right combination of distance and clothes and anatomy to stop the arrowhead just 1 inch deep.
Jetzt 15 Zentimeter.
10 centimeters, 4 inches, much deeper than the arrow that went into Ötzi. They'll try again from farther out.
Yeah. Oh, die ist hart geblieben. We can use it again. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Das Holz. Das ist der Pfeil abgebrochen.
Now they've got the distance.
Macht nichts.
Das ist aber interessant.
Steckt noch da drinnen.
The skin is penetrated and the arrow point in and out on the other side, and the point is still in. So it is nearly the same like we have it at Ötzi's, in Ötzi's back.
The verdict: with a 24-inch arrow and a 50-pound draw weight, the calculus of death yields just one answer. The lethal blow came from 30 yards away. What kind of shot was it? According to Anna Pedrotti, this was no random blow, no hunting accident. The evidence is in the arrowhead. There were two main types at the time.
These are arrows found in this region. They have different shapes. One has a tanged base, and the other is larger with a rounded base. They may also have different dimensions. And maybe these different shapes were used for different purposes.
The oval one was almost always used for hunting game, but the triangular one is known as the war arrow. In every human arrow death Pedrotti has studied so far, the triangular arrowhead was used. The weapon of choice against people. Pedrotti can show just how it was used. A remarkable fossil, a triangular arrowhead buried deep in a human neck bone.
This is the vertebra of a man who was hit by an arrowhead about 5,000 years ago. Similar testimonies of violent deaths can be noted practically all over Europe. It's very similar to the arrowhead found in the Iceman's back.
Just like the fatal arrowhead, a war arrow. This was no mistake.
I don't believe we're dealing with a hunting accident. The shot was too perfect. You can clearly see that the enemy was aiming at the heart.
A premeditated murder, the work of a killer. On the hunt for that man, the investigation is about to take a new turn. Back at the Bolzano hospital, they're following the path of a killer. After 5 millennia, the trail is pretty cold. But Egerter is focusing on the one thing he left behind, the fatal arrow. Beginning at the wound and working backwards, he and Gostner are trying to figure out exactly how the shooter took his shot, his position, the trajectory of his arrow. Their conclusion?
Yes, for sure we know that the angle of the trajectory is 25 degrees down. Second, the shot was coming from the left side of the body, and that's important because we know that the hunter or the shooter had a position respect of the Iceman left behind and not right behind.
What does this shot tell us about the killer? It was a bullseye, a strike to the torso, from nearly half a football field away. The assailant was aiming for the heart, and from over 30 yards, he missed that target by less than 4 inches, still close enough to kill Ötzi. It wasn't just a good shot, it was a great shot, in difficult conditions. This is an Italian regional champion. Using lightweight carbon fiber arrows and the latest Ultratech bow, with a stabilizer, a finely calibrated weighting system, and a stainless steel sight. And he's having trouble. Uphill, more than 30 yards away, buffeted by the mountain winds, it's no easy mark. And the Iceman was a moving target. The shot itself defines the man who took it. A hunter or warrior for whom the bow was an extension of the body. And odds are it was a man. For the draw weight of the bow would have been more than 50 pounds. Not easy for most Neolithic women to handle. The most compelling clue to the killer comes in a room just down this hallway, in the Bolzano hospital. Here, a new set of CT scans is stored. On a computer monitor, emerging in 3 dimensions, still lodged in Ötzi's back, this is the fatal arrowhead. Even on a flat screen, Pedrotti and Gostner are able to make out the key evidence, the shape of the arrowhead, the extra flange on the bottom. Because what they know is that different regions use different styles of arrowhead.
He used an arrow that has the same characteristics of those that are widespread in the south of the Alps. It has a tanged base, while those widely found north of the Alps almost always have a flat base. And so we can say that the Iceman's murderer lived south of the Alps.
An address for the killer. South of the Alps, today's Italy. Just like Ötzi himself. The Iceman had come from the south, journeying through Italy's Casteljuval region up into the Alps. To trace his exact route in the last 48 hours before his death, botanist Klaus Oergel examined Ötzi's artifacts, the contents of his stomach.
This is a vegetation map of the Tyrol, and you can see precisely on the red color that the warm-demanding vegetation is only distributed south of the Alps. And out of this vegetation, all the species come where his artifacts are made of. So this gives a clear indication that he came from the south and not from the north.
According to Oergel, in the last day of his life, Ötzi was on the move. Traveling from the valleys, he climbed into the subalpine forests on his way to the mountain peaks. And as he did, all the circumstantial evidence shows, he crossed the same land as his attacker. Which raises an intriguing possibility. Could Ötzi have actually known his killer? Could a tragic conflict within a Neolithic village have boiled over to a terrible end? Drained and exhausted, he would simply collapse. His end written in blood. But 5,000 years later, that blood would mark a new beginning. In the murder investigation of Ötzi, molecular archaeologist Tom Loy has begun to find dramatic new results.
Here we go.
He's been checking the triangular arrowheads from Ötzi's quiver.
These kinds of arrows are considered to be warfare arrows. That is, you want to inflict some pain and damage and possibly kill your opponent.
Loy has been able, quite literally, to get blood from a stone. In fact, one arrowhead and its shaft both came up positive.
Wow, this is just covered in blood.
The blood was human. The genetic traces are distinctive. Now he turns to Ötzi's cloak. The hides sewn together in a rainbow of stripes. Clearly, the millennia have ripped it to shreds, but Loy decides to run a new test, hoping to find blood on the cloak as well, the traces of prehistoric conflict.
It's blood, it turns green.
The chemical reaction is measured with a hemostic strip. It takes just 2 minutes. After 5,000 years, the blood is still there. But surprisingly, it belongs to someone else besides Ötzi. Another indication of Neolithic battle.
This would have been on his shoulder.
Loy double-checks the other artifacts. On the knife, he finds layers of blood caked on the flint blade.
That's one, and that'll have DNA in it. So we've got 2 cells with DNA, and which is pretty good.
We found lots and lots of red blood cells.
In all, Loy will announce finding human blood samples on 4 different artifacts: the arrowhead, an arrow shaft, the cloak, and the knife. Each ancient, not modern, and each a distinct DNA sequence.
It's a very important discovery, partly because it's very unexpected. Very surprised and very pleased.
Loy believes the Iceman is bearing the blood of 4 different people.
With this one,
Was it the result of many fights across the years, or just one series of battles? We may never know. But this much is sure. Clearly, Ötzi was involved in more than one violent confrontation. He may have gone down fighting, but he took the blood of others with him. So a new picture of Ötzi emerges. A hunter of animals, but a fighter as well. Stalking game, confronting humans up in the high mountains. No longer just a victim, but a man who stood his ground. And so, in the hunt for a killer, it is Ötzi the Iceman who may share in that title. Back in Australia, Dr. Loy announces he has drawn genetic material from the artifacts, 4 ancient DNA samples. But none of them belong to Ötzi. Could one of them have come from his attacker? Just whose genetic fingerprint is this? In ongoing research, Loy will eventually be able to learn several things from this DNA: eyes, sex, hair color, even predisposition to diseases. Perhaps it's Ötzi's attacker, perhaps his victim. But beyond the speculation, there are certain things we know about the person who hunted Ötzi, even after all these years. A Neolithic man. Skilled enough to take down a moving target 30 yards away. Cold-blooded enough to strike from behind. In all, a hunter or a warrior coming from south of the Alps, today's Italy, stalking his human target across the hills. On the trail of the final piece of Ötztal's story, Egerter has returned to the mummy one last time. He is looking for blood too, or rather, a lack of it. Having proved there was a battle, he wants to tie up the case with evidence Ötztal died of those wounds. He can't do an autopsy, but he's got the next best thing, an endoscope and a tiny chest flap from previous investigations.
So, now the chest is opened. You can see the dark hole.
The opening is wide enough.
Inside the Iceman, a fantastic voyage begins. Soon the organs come into view. Mummification has squashed the heart to the size of a coaster, but all the parts are still there. 5,000 years later, everything's intact.
Das da. Wieso ist das so schwarz?
You have seen incredible pictures. It's the first time that I see endoscopic pictures about the Iceman. Yeah.
The one thing they don't find is blood, just as Egerter suspected.
For our investigation about the cause of the death of the Iceman, we could see that the chest cavities are free of blood. He lost, probably yes, a loss of blood, but not into the lung and not into the cavity of the chest.
The leg artery, normally packed with red cells, is also empty. This is the confirmation he's been looking for. Confirmation that Ötztal died of his wounds, as all the blood flowed out of his body. Now the pieces click into place. A scenario of the last 2 days, more desperate, more violent than anyone previously imagined.
The last days of the Iceman's life were probably very, very terrible for him. The last 2 days, I think, were full of violence.
What happened in the last 48 hours of Ötztal's life? A fight, perhaps a village conflict, or a territorial clash. Either way, it would be fierce. 2 lives colliding on the rocky edge of the Stone Age. Ötztal would take to the hills. Stalked by a hunter. The blow, when it came, was just inches from the heart. But he would push on, staggering up to his safe haven, where, bleeding from his wounds, he collapsed and died. This is the final irony of Ötztal's story. For as the last drops flowed out of him, they took with them the microbes that decay the body. And so, in the end, the blood loss that claimed his life would in fact preserve him. And what killed the Iceman also saved him for eternity.